Hi everybody! Okay, we are almost done. In this lesson we will see a short example of how to produce a requirement specification using a requirements management tool. We are going to create some stakeholder and system requirements, and we will outline how to organize requirements and perform some typical processes in requirements engineering, such as traceability. Before starting, can you remember all the concepts we have seen during this week? Well, I guess you can remember most of them, but let me give you a quick We have defined the concept of requirements as a mean of expressing our needs and wishes. We can now recognize needs and define requirements for any kind of system. For example, a complex and critical systems such as cars or aircrafts, or even a software system. As you remember, a good requirements definition will ease further activities such as verification and validation. We have presented the application of standards as the cornerstone for the development lifecycle of any system. Besides, we have seen the different types of requirements, stakeholder requirements, system requirements, etc. And we have defined the requirements engineering process, including elicitation, analysis, specification, verification, validation, and management. Keeping in mind all these concepts, we are going to define a system focusing on this last stage, requirements management. So, let's start. Let's suppose we want to define a new bicycle. We choose to work with a bicycle in this example for simplicity reasons, because we do not have to explain you what do we want to build. Okay, what is the starting point? I hope you will perceive that in this video you are not going to be the engineer and I am not going to be the customer. On the contrary, I will take the engineer role for first and last time, and I want you to be with me. So the first thing we have to do is to extract the needs and wishes of our client. In reality, the customer wishes and demands are usually written in a customer needs document or documents. Once we have understood the document, we should organize meetings between us and the customers to get as much information as we can. And once we think that we understand everything, we will define a set of stakeholder requirements. Once they are defined, we will produce system and component requirements that will be represented in requirement specifications. You can see in the screen what the customer has written to us. Even if it is simple, read the text and figure out how should these needs be stated into requirements. Okay, you can see in the screen the gathered requirements. These are a kind of simple stakeholder requirements. Please notice that they are not describing the bicycle, but the stakeholders that will be affected by the system. The cyclist, the police, and others that are not present in the shown requirements, like the serviceman, the sales force, the factory that produced the bike, etc. Once we have the requirements, we must verify them, assuring that they are correct, consistent, and complete. And afterwards, we have to validate them with the customer to check that he or she agrees with our view. Once they are validated, we need to refine them, creating real system requirements, functional and non-functional ones. And every stakeholder requirement must at least be linked with one system requirement. With this operation, we assure that every customer need is satisfied with the existence of a set of requirements affecting the system. For instance, considering the Stake 06 requirement, we should produce the following system requirement. And this system requirement will be derived in a component requirement. And let's define now some requirements for the pedals. It seems that we have made a quite good definition of the saddle, and we have also included some requirements to define pedals, behaviors and safety. Well, once we have these requirements, let's use a requirement management tool to manage them. In this case, we are going to use a cloud instance of the IBM Doors next generation. And to do that, I am going to count with my colleague Jose Maria. Well, you can call him Chema. So, Chema, all for you.
Hi everybody, this is Chema Albert speaking. Now I'm going to show you how to use a requirements management tool to persist our requirements. We will also see how to manage some of the attributes of a requirement, such as the text, description, and other metadata. We can also see the different versions of our requirements, and we can create links among them. Finally, we are going to generate the requirements specification as a document. So let's start. In this case, we have decided to use IBM Doors Next Generation, that is a web application for requirements management. We have created a cloud instance that you can access in the following address: https://net sandbox03-rm. So let's go. Here we have a dashboard in which we can manage all the different projects. We have created a new one for the purposes of this course, so let's enter to see my artifacts. We don't have yet any requirements, so the first thing I'm going to do is to create two different folders or modules. The first one for storing the stakeholder requirements, and the second one for storing the system requirements, functional and non-functional ones. Secondly, I'm going to create the stakeholder requirement that Juan has previously presented with a title and a description. We can open the requirement and see the different attributes that we can manage, like priority, type of requirement, severity. And now we should also produce a real system requirement. So let's go. And finally, this system requirement will be derived in a component requirement. Once we have our requirements, we can do a lot of operations. For instance, let's create some links between the stakeholder and the system requirements. We have to open the definition of the requirement and search for other requirement to link both together. And we can repeat this operation to link the system requirement with the component requirement that we have previously created. Both are a kind of traceability links. The last step is to generate the requirements specification. In this case, we are going to generate the system requirements specification. So we go to generate report, new report. We have to fill down some properties. We have to select our requirements, and here we go. The document is being generated and we can open it. This is the specification we can use for documentation purposes. For transferring it to other development stages, and in general to share with other people involved in the development of the system. In the same manner, the requirements that are already stored in the requirements management tool can be reused, can be linked to other artifacts such as models or test cases, and could be also used in other projects. So that's it. A requirements management tool is the proper tool to support the requirements engineering processes that we have seen in previous lectures.
Once we have produced our specification, we can continue the requirements engineering process. We can share the specification with other stages in the development lifecycle, easing cooperation and collaboration, and enabling continuous engineering. What is most important from the very beginning of our project, we have everything well documented and organized to be reused. Okay, future software architects. I hope you have enjoyed these weeks working together with Gonzalo, Chema, and me. I think you are now ready to specify your needs and wishes through requirement specifications and to acknowledge the need of applying standards and a development lifecycle to build any system in a digital world. I think that the most important lesson to remember must be: do always the right thing right. Please keep connected and learn more about the software architect.